Hey, welcome back to Blanchy Talks Watches. Today we're looking at the Viqueria Calipso. I'm going to do the full review, and I would do a wrist check, but I've actually been wearing this for the last few days, so I just took it off to do the review. So this is a pretty nice watch. This is going to be launched on Kickstarter and pre-order as well on the website. It's currently open for pre-order, and the Kickstarter is going to relaunch. They actually did launch it and they cancelled it due to just the funding raised. It's a bit of a hard time in the minute for Kickstarter watches. Some fantastic watches aren't meeting their goals, and I was shocked that this one didn't reach its goal immediately. To be honest, I thought this would fly out. So what they did was they renegotiated with their suppliers, changed a few minimum order quantities. It's increased the cost to the brand, but they're going to absorb that so customers don't have to pay any extra, which is super cool. So this is going to stay in or around the €200 mark, which is incredible for what you're getting. So obviously it is a vintage styled dive watch. I'm wearing these gloves for the first time today because this is covered in high polish, and it is a bit of a fingerprint magnet. And you'll notice there is scratches on this one. That was from a previous review that was done and not by myself, so don't worry, it's not going to come scratched if you buy one. Just want to point that out. So the first thing that I noticed on this when I got it was that bezel. So there's the outer black ring with the countdown, dive countdown bezel, and then you've got the inner silver ring, which works as a second time zone indicator, which is pretty cool. There is other watches that have similar bezels, not the same, but similar style and layout. I'm not sure offhand what brand it is, but there is a vintage one anyway. But this does have its own little unique features. The 12 o'clock pip is loomed. The action is a bit light, bit of backplay in it. Personally, I find it's a little bit too light for me. I've had a couple of times where I've knocked it and it has shifted slightly, but in the €200 price bracket, it's more than good enough. Speaking of more than good enough, the dial is certainly far above just good enough. The dial is fantastic. They are pearlescent dials, so they have a granular texture. If I can get a focus on it, it's kind of difficult to get it with. Yeah, you can see it there, the granular texture, so it absorbs light at different levels. Yeah, there it is off my secondary light. You can see it there. Very, very nice. It comes in a black or a brown. Yeah, I really, really do like that dial. It stands out quite a lot when you're wearing it on the wrist. It's just beautiful. Then you've got the applied indices with the super highly polished outer ring and then the loomed centers. I really like the hands on this as well. They're simple enough, just pointed hands, but I think they really suit the watch. I think they're going to change slightly. I think they might be slightly longer in the production version. This is a prototype. And the bracelet with the brushed outer and polished centers, a bit hard to see with the harsh lights. The clasp then, nice milled clasp with Viqueria on the lock. Again, this has been worn by myself for a couple of weeks and previous reviewers, so that's why it is a bit banged up. As for the micro adjust, there's 3 levels of micro adjust. I've said before, I do prefer a bit more than 3, but in this price point, 3 is more than enough. I did size it so it sits perfectly on my wrist and it's super comfortable. Another nice thing on any watch, but especially at this price point, solid end links. Always good to see. I hate hollow end links, so it's great to see solid end links, especially at this price. I keep saying at this price, and I just want to clarify that I don't mean that I'm letting this watch away with things because it's at this price. I'm saying that it's surprising for at this price that you're getting this level of fit and finish. The case back then, if I can get an angle on it, so it's a bit difficult because it's a high polish. It's going to be changed to a brushed for the production model. Viqueria Calipso, diameter, water resistance 300 meters, automatic movement, NH35, and this is numero 1, so number 1. So I found out who that actually is on the back of the watch, and I can get it there, and I feel a bit stupid because it is Calipso, which is the name of the watch, so that fits. So Calipso is the goddess of the sea. So I think I'm going to describe her as some sort of sea goddess in the unboxing video, and she is the goddess of the sea. So you can see her there, standing in the waves, holding a trident and holding up a ship. So makes sense with the name of the watch to have Calipso on the back. Straighten up this bezel now because it will be annoying anyone who has OCD. It's not a bad sounding bezel. It's different. It just sounds a little bit lighter, which I suppose fits with it turning a little bit too easily for my taste. So as I've said, this watch is €200. It's 300 meter water resistance, and it has the Seiko NH35 movement, which is an absolute workhorse movement. The NH35 has been a favourite in the micro brand world for quite some time, and it's no surprise why. It's an absolute workhorse. I've reviewed so many watches with it, very few issues, and if there is any issues, it's so easy just to swap the movement out. So instead of even getting a watch serviced, just swap the movement. It's much cheaper than a service. So I do like the NH35. I know it's fallen out of favour with some people, and it's, to be honest, it's kind of snobbery. It's not because it's not a fantastic movement, it's just because it's used so much. But at the end of the day, with the specs it has and how reliable it is, I'm happy to see it going on and on forever. I think it's going to kind of get more popular again with the new Seiko NH34, the GMT movement. People are kind of falling back in favour with Seiko, so I'd say it's here to stay for a long time, and so it's good to see it in this watch. And at €200, this is kind of at the price point of the Chinese factory brands, the Pagani Designs, the San Martins, that sort of range. They've actually increased in price a lot recently as well, so this is coming in cheaper than some of their models. With the specs this has, it's a no-brainer to go for this one. Speaking of specs, we've got the lovely dome sapphire crystal with an AOR coating on the underside. I do find there is quite a lot of reflections off it, which I don't mind in real life, but when I'm recording my videos, it can be super frustrating. But it's not something you need to worry about, apart from when you're taking pictures of your watch, and you can still get some great pictures with a bit of reflection in them. So I will look at the size now. Get my trusty calipers out. So this is my sweet spot. It is 42 millimeters. The lug to lug then is 50. Thickness including the crystal is 14. Then the engraved crown is 7. And the lug width is 22 exactly. So very well proportioned. The 4 o'clock crown. As I've said many times on this channel, I believe 42 millimeters is my sweet spot. So I'll throw it on the wrist and show you what it looks like. So there we have it. Sits quite nicely. I think that really is my sweet spot. 7¼ inches my wrist. Nice side profile with the curved body, the high polish reflecting. I'm not normally a fan of high polish, but I think this pulls it off quite well. I'm much more a fan of the brushed look, but yeah, I think this does. You've got the brush top of the lugs with the polish side. I like the contrast between it. Super comfortable. Very little noise out of the bracelet. A little bit out of the clasp, that's to be expected. So when you're shaking around, nothing happens. It's only when you knock it, and sure, look, doesn't matter if that happens, does it? It's not rattly at all. Like, for €200, like, I expected it to have a bit of rattle, and it doesn't. So pleasantly surprised by that. I'll pop it off again. You can have a bit of a better look. The case material then is 316L stainless steel. As I mentioned, already has the solid end links. The bracelet then has a huge amount of articulation, so that helps it to really hug your wrist. And I love bracelets like this because you can get them to fit just right without that much articulation. If it's a bit stiff at all, I find that you need to wear it a bit looser to be comfortable, and that's where you get the jiggle and the rattle, and it just doesn't happen with this one. It's very well made. Okay, so the lume then, this watch has plenty of lume. You've got the lume on the pip, you've got the hour markers, and the hands are also lumed. So I'll just turn off my lights and we can quickly have a look as it is, just from being under the lights, and then I will charge it with my lume torch, or my UV torch even, to see what it looks like. Yeah, that's showing up quite well already. So as you can see there, it is quite legible. The hands probably aren't as bright as I would have liked, but they are still readable, and it's readable for quite a lot of the night, if not all of the night. It might be readable all night, I'm not completely certain. It depends on the level of charge, but yeah, it's slightly brighter in person than it's shown up on camera, so I can clearly see the time in my hand versus what you're seeing on the camera. So I will just give it a quick blast of my lume torch so you can get the full effect of how it looks. So just give it a couple of seconds and then you can see, look at that. That's beautiful. I have said it so many times, I love when lume is done well, and I think this lume is done well. It's not as bright as I'd like, but at this price it's really good. I love that they've used the C3 and the BGW9, so you've got both the blue and the green. I think so. You can see the blue on the so you can see the green on the 369 and the pip, and the blue on the rest of them. The hands then are green as well, but they're just not as bright as the indices. I wonder, is it a thinner coat of lume on them, maybe? It's just not as bright. You can even see it in the way the camera's picking up. It picks the hands up easier because they're less bright. But yeah, really, really cool lume. Yeah, I really do like this. Yeah, I love getting the lume to just kind of reflect off the inside of the crystal. You can see it there. Quite nice. Okay, so there we have it. Vintage inspired dive watch. Comes with a watch roll or tool roll. Just on the bracelet, no other strap options, but 22mm, you can throw on any number of other straps that will work with it. Good points, the price, it's an absolute steal at €200. 300mm water resistance, screw down crown, Seiko NH35, Superlume, dome sapphire crystal, solid end links. The dial, God, almost everything is a good point about this watch, to be honest. What I consider the bad points, I'm just not a fan of that bezel action. It's just a bit too light for me. I said it, I caught it on my jeans a couple of times and knocked it off. It's not the end of the world. It absolutely wouldn't stop me buying this watch. I mean, let's face it, how often do you actually dive with a dive watch? I know I've never done it. so I'd have no problem if I did knock it to the side 2 or 3 minutes. It's not the end of the world. As well, with a unidirectional bezel, if you knock it, you lose a minute or two. So look, if you are timing something, you'll be slightly early. So look, it's not the end of the world. Other than that, it's nice to get the watch roll, but usually when you get a watch roll, you get a NATO strap or something with it. I don't want to say it takes away from the watch. It doesn't. It's a nice watch roll, but I think it's probably unnecessary, especially at this price point. I wasn't expecting it, and if it was me, I'd probably take it out and use a couple of euro to put in a tighter spring on the bezel and leave it at that. So yeah, I'm gonna stop it there. Overwhelmingly positive from me. Bezel issue being the only thing, and I don't really think it's too much of an issue, and it wouldn't stop me buying this at all, especially at this price. I think even if it was more expensive, 250 or maybe even 300 euro, it still would be a pretty good deal. But at the 200 euro mark, this is a very, very good deal. The new funding goal on Kickstarter, I think it's only like €5,500 or something quite low, to kind of match the funding they'd raised already in the previous campaign. So they will expect it to be reached. Not sure when it's launching. I think it's going to launch around the time that this video goes live, and they haven't given an exact date, but I'll put the details of their website in the description, and if the Kickstarter's live, I will add that in as well. Yeah, it's another one for me that I'd say go and buy it. €200. It's a steal. If you know anyone who's getting into watches, this could be a great one to get them into the micro brand world. Viqueria is a great brand with a good history of producing watches, so no fear there. Right, I am going to leave it there. Let me know what you think in the comments, and please do like, comment, subscribe, and I'll catch you on the next one. Cheers.